I'm also the Director of Education for an internet safety nonprofit called Connect Safely, and this talk is really about how those two jobs intersect. My secret squirrel fact is that I have club lighting in my kitchen, and so we do dance parties like several times a day. Okay. So, in my role as a digital learning specialist and as a digital citizenship coach and consultant, I'm asked all the time by teachers and parents, how much screen time is the right amount of screen time so that my kid's brain isn't all messed up forever? The problem is that that's the wrong question to ask me, and so I struggle with answering it, because what I really need them to ask me is how can we make sure we're building skills in our children so that they'll be healthy consumers, creators, and activists when they're using their screens. Not how much, but how. It's becoming more well known that dopamine is at play when we use our screens, especially with specific tasks. The dopamine is this chemical that when you get a little squirt in your brain, it causes feelings of elation. It's most commonly associated with video games and social media. In fact, Sean Parker, the co-founder of Facebook, recently admitted that when they designed it because they wanted to consume as much of our time as possible, which means that the likes and comments are meant to create those little dopamine squirts. So when we hear the creators of these platforms admitting to this, it's really easy for us as adults to demonize the devices and say that the devices are evil. But they're not. They're not good or evil. They're just really powerful and awesome. And we love them as much as our children do. I know that I have 3 devices with me right now. How many of you have 2, 3, 4 devices with you right now? And we can't imagine our professional or personal lives without them. And therefore, our children can't imagine their lives without them either. So we need to figure out a way to teach them how to use them well. The AAP used to make it easy for us. And for years and years, they had specific time limit guidelines based on the age of the child. So we were like, sweet, we have the answer, we know how to keep our kids healthy, we're good. The problem is, even the AAP has admitted that that's outdated now because of how much more our devices can do and how much we need them. So their new 12 guidelines don't really talk about time at all. They talk about how to use the devices to make personal, social, real connections to other people. And those are the guidelines that we need to talk about with our students. So in my school, St. John's Prep, how do we keep that conversation going and encourage our children to develop those skills that I'm talking about? One way is to create authentic learning experiences where we encourage them to use their screens the right way. So here are some examples. These students are interviewing an expert in hurricane relief who was in Puerto Rico during the Hurricane Maria the building that's still happening. He's also a PhD out of New York, and he travels back and forth because he has family there, and so they got a nice personal connection there. These students are AP Physics students who their teacher is very globally minded, and he wanted them to do research on alternative sources of energy, compile their research, and then share it beyond the school so that we can start thinking about how our school can be better at that. These students are learning to be more collaborative by planning and recording podcasts in German so that they can hear themselves after speaking and become more fluent speakers of the language that they're learning. And these students are learning about a learning process by researching, storyboarding, rehearsing, and then filming videos of themselves talking about the different perspectives at play during the French and Indian War. These students are able to get more creative than they ever could without screens because they took pictures of themselves, they went into Photoshop, they used a projector as a light box, and developed these monochromatic self-portraits that in the end they painted and weren't digital at all and are posted all around our school to show the identities of who our children are. What we're doing is not just modeling this, but telling our students why we're modeling it this way. We're constantly having conversations among faculty, among students, in meetings that are planned, that are unplanned and serendipitous, and we've developed cultural guidelines in partnership with our students. This graphic and the content of it was developed by our high school students. It is posted in every single room all over our entire high school campus, which encompasses 4 buildings. And our students pointed out to each other even to hold one another accountable. This one was designed by our middle school students. And the stoplight idea, while it's popular online among teachers, our middle school students had never seen it and came up with it themselves because they understand how important it is to have not rules against everything, but guiding rules to make everything work in each situation. So what I'm urging you to do is stop thinking about screen time when you're worried about your children or yourself. Stop asking the screen time question of yourself or of your children, and instead start thinking
about your social screen skills. How are you using your screen? Are you using it